Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about something that I actually hadn't planned on talking about, but in a recent Q&A on Instagram, so many people asked me the same kind of questions and I wasn't planning on talking about it because it is a bit of a icky subject. As you might know, and here's where I get icky, is when I start fiddling with my hair. As you might know, or might not know, but in which case I'm just going to catch you up so we're all on the same page here. I recently, in the past 6 months, had a rhinoplasty, which is the technical doctory term for a nose job. It was a revision rhinoplasty, which means it was my second nose job. I actually had a rhinoplasty about 10 years ago. Now that we're all on the same page, we can chat. In case you haven't seen that video where I talk about it, it was around October time. I had it done here in London. I use a doctor in London called Dr. Sandeep Pawn, and he operates out of a few different clinics. The clinic that I had my surgery at was called the Cadogan Clinic. I think what I'm gonna do now that we're all matey around here, we're all in a little gang, like a circle, a women's circle. Well, and men, but mostly women. It's like 97% women here. Anyway, I'm gonna answer some questions. One of the biggest questions that came up was, how did I decide what I wanted? Now, I'm going to put in a before picture of my nose here. You guys have seen it multiple times. I've had this nose my entire time on YouTube, pretty much. Not that you need to see a before picture. In a way, I was kind of lucky. I take a lot of pictures of my face for my life in general, like day to day for Instagram and YouTube and stuff, so I did know what bothered me about my nose, and that would be the best place to start, I would say, is what bothers you about something that you're going to change. For me, it was that when I smiled, my nose kind of hooked down, and that was something that I didn't change in my first rhinoplasty. How we changed it this time was Dr. Pawn put grafts at the tip of my nose to kind of hold it up, so over time it doesn't end up sort of drooping down like my nose did previously. Also, I found that my side profile was quite harsh. I had a really straight nose and I just found it didn't suit me so much, so we put a slight, when I say slight, it's so slight, a slight curve in my nose. I guess to decide what I wanted, I thought about what bothered me the most, and that was quite easy for me to spot because I take so many pictures. What did I look for when choosing a surgeon? I think I looked for really like how I felt with them. Your gut instinct tells you so much, and I went to see a few different people, and some of whom kind of like rushed me into their office and rushed me out and did all the usual protocol and like didn't leave any room for conversation or how I felt or whatever, what I was looking to change. And I think as soon as I went into Dr. Pawn's office, I just felt really safe, and I think that feeling, more so than what they were telling me about what they were going to do or how we're going to make it look on a picture. You can kind of edit it on a picture, some doctors do that. More so than that, because I knew the picture might not actually be accurate, how I felt with that doctor. I also looked online actually. I looked at the Tatler surgery guide, and I also looked at it from the past like 10 years and not just the most recent one. And I also looked at their reviews. I think it's called Real Self, where real people write real reviews about the doctor. I should actually leave a review. A lot of people ask, did I have more than one? So to confirm, yes, I had a nose job 10 years ago. I don't really feel like it did a lot. My nose kind of ended up like almost growing back, which sounds really weird. I don't feel like I think I was so scared for that surgery that I didn't say what I actually wanted to change, and so it was so minor, and like even my close friends and my family, like at the time, no one really even noticed that I'd had a rhinoplasty because we made such minor changes. How did you know you were going with the right clinic or surgeon? It's really hard to say, and you don't. I mean, I had nightmares before of like me coming out with like an even bigger nose, and like those are my dreams. I was waking up with those dreams. It's just a risk you take. I was considering getting this done for about 7 years and looked into it 5 years ago. I started looking into it 5 years ago. So that's how long I had to kind of change my mind. Like, I did change my mind so many times throughout that process, and in the end I finally bit the bullet. So to answer your question, it is a risk. I didn't know, but I felt the most safe that I had felt meeting so many different people. Okay, let's talk about the actual procedure now. What was the anesthesia like? So how the operation works is you go in at whatever allocated time. You don't actually stay the night for a rhinoplasty. I went in at around 2. My operation was scheduled for 2:30, so I had that whole morning kind of like biting my nails and wandering around. I took myself to the clinic and I actually called one of my friends on the way and she was like, what are you wearing? I was like, I don't know, a Topshop dress and my Fendi bag and trainers. Like, I didn't know what to wear, but I knew that when I left I would be on general anesthetic. Really, I'd be coming down from general anesthetic, so I wanted something I could slip on really easily, and it was kind of a hot day. Ow. I went into the waiting room and then I went into theatre. I'd never been into theatre before. It's kind of like the operating room, and it was quite scary. There's a lot of people going around. There's like a big clock on the top. I went in and the door closed and I knew there was no way out, and I almost wanted out for a second there. So you're lying down in a bed and the anaesthetist comes. The anaesthetist was really, really lovely, and she put a needle in my arm and said, we're not going to do anything yet. I'll let you know when the general anesthetic starts going into you. And about 5 minutes later, well, probably 2 minutes, but it felt like 5 minutes, she said, you're going to feel something cold going into your arm, and that's the general anesthetic. And I said, how long will I be asleep in? Because I really didn't want to wait. That was the thing for me, is like I did not want to wait. She said 30 seconds. And I said to her, 30 seconds, that's a really long time. And I don't think I finished my sentence, because I was asleep. That was the last thing I remember. I was asleep. What was the recovery like? And when I woke up, I was in recovery, and I woke up and I just remember being in so much pain, but it was actually my mouth that was in pain, not my nose. I woke up and I had, I'll put in a picture now, I had a huge blister on my lip. Like half the size of my lip was a huge blister, and I couldn't move my mouth. They came and they brought me porridge. Before I went into surgery, I got to choose what food I wanted when I came out, and for some reason I chose porridge. I don't know why, I just felt like it was a really simple thing that I was always going to be in the mood for, whatever mood I came out of surgery. And I knew there was I felt like there was something on my face, and I got my phone. I asked one of the nurses to get me my phone from my bag, and I turned on my camera and I just saw my face. I don't know what I was thinking, but I remember thinking, my mouth really hurts. I wonder if we've done anything, or if we've done something to my mouth instead of my nose. And you're also really, really out of it. You're kind of like in this weird sort of sleepy state. And then when I turned on my selfie camera, it was that moment of, oh my god, there's a huge bandage on my face. None of the swelling or anything had even come yet. I didn't have any bruising yet. That came the next 2 days. So that night I went home. I was instructed to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. I did not sleep all night. I pulled an all-nighter. I don't know why I couldn't sleep. Maybe it was the general anesthetic. Maybe I was just still kind of a bit nervous. Maybe a bit of both. I couldn't sleep at all. And the next day I actually had a really productive day. I thought the general anesthetic would kind of alter my behavior or my mood or my awareness, but it didn't. It actually made me really hyper, which was so weird. I was like cooking. When I got home from surgery, I made French fries in my air fryer. I think I even have a clip of that. I'm gonna put it in. We make French fries. Anyway, the next day I was totally fine. I had a really productive day. The second day I woke up and my face had blown up. I had bruised. I was swollen. My eyes were all purple and puffy. It looked so bad, and it was really, really painful. What was more painful was actually the drugs that I was on. They were really affecting my stomach and my IBS, so I was instructed to get off those and just take paracetamol, which actually made me feel so much better, which is quite strange really. Like, the drugs made me feel worse than the actual procedure and the side effects of the procedure. What would happen was that I had a bandage under my nose, and that bled so much. That was kind of to secure the blood coming out of my nose. I would have to change that bandage about 3 times a day, especially if I was eating. For some reason, eating and moving my jaw made my nose bleed so much. So if you're someone that doesn't like blood, I don't know what to say to you, because it was gross for me and I don't even mind blood. On the 3rd day, I managed to take Duke for a walk. It is day 3. I woke up this morning looking really weird, like so puffy and blue, and really sore. I think the general anesthetic was starting to wear off last night. In COVID times, we obviously wear face masks a lot of the time, so I put on a face mask and I put it on quite high, and I was able to go out without feeling like people are staring at me. I also wore a cap so I could walk my dog. I was really out of breath, like really out of breath. So I walked him really slowly, but I managed to get out the house. That night, I somehow managed to make dinner for 2 people coming round. Hannah and Isabella came round, and they said let's order in, and I somehow had the energy to make everyone dinner. I don't know how I did that. I really don't know looking back now, because I was still kind of a bit daisy and a bit slow, but I managed to do that. My face just looked like I was a monkey. My cheeks puffed out, my eyes puffed out, everything looked really funny. Then the bruising went a bit yellow. This was probably the least attractive phase. It looked like I'd sort of rubbed some fake makeup or something on my face. And then I went to go and get my bandage off. Now, when you go, your doctor ends up almost like scraping your cast and your bandage off. It's a really unpleasant experience, and normally he would have done a couple of other things for me, like tidy it up and clean it, but he said he'd never seen so much swelling. My face was so swollen, and I'm the kind of person that bruises really easily as well, so I kind of guessed that might happen. Once I had the bandage removed, the recovery followed that for another couple of weeks noticeably in my face. My face was so puffy and I couldn't really express myself fully still in my face. The under eye bags and bruising went away about a month later. You'll notice if you go back in time on my social media and stuff, I didn't show myself without makeup for about a month because it just didn't look attractive. But I will put in some pictures. How many days of real recovery for the operation? I would honestly say 2. If you're working from home like I am and you don't need your face to go anywhere, you can really work on day 2, maybe even day 1, like me if you're lucky. But if you're kind of talking to people on Zoom and things like that from home, or if you have to go into work, then probably a week. How was seeing yourself after surgery? Were you shocked, and how fast did you get used to it? I was quite shocked. I'm not going to answer this after surgery actually, because I've already kind of answered that. I'm going to answer when I took off the bandage, and I was really shocked when I took off the bandage because I think my nose was so swollen. I looked like a rhino or something. Like, I looked so swollen that it was really hard for me to see and envisage what it would look like. And I was taking pictures of it every day. So I think only now-ish, and now is what, October, November, December, January, almost February, like 5 months later, that I'm more used to it. I'm thinking of doing the same, but I'm scared I won't look like myself. Do you still feel like you? 100%. 100% I still feel like me. I don't feel like I've changed that much at all. And I look at myself in videos and I'm like, did I even have a nose job? And then I look at my old videos and compare, and I'm like, oh, hold on, that's quite a big change actually. But I 100% still feel like me. It's crazy how quickly you can get used to something. I'm sorry if it's rude, but do you mind giving a range for the price it cost you? So there were quite a few questions about cost, and this was something I wanted to address because I feel like it is such a huge aspect of it. Like I mentioned earlier actually, I was considering this for 5 years, so I had a really long time to save up for this. I thought about it for 2 years and then I looked into it for 5 years, so I was saving for this for 7 years. Obviously a nose job isn't something you factor in your everyday costs or purchases. You have 3 fees when it comes to a nose job. You have your doctor's fee, your anaesthetist fee, and your hospital fee. Now, for some reason, having a revision rhinoplasty, so a second nose job, costs more. Only from the hospital's point of view. I'm not really sure why. It wasn't even something I questioned. That's what I was told. And I went to the Cadogan Clinic, which is quite a small little clinic actually. I've been there before, but all the staff in there was so lovely. I had a choice of the Cadogan Clinic or I think a clinic on Wimpole Street, and I chose the Cadogan Clinic because I'd actually been there before. I've been there before because that's where I get my moles looked at and checked, and I think I had a mole removed there as well. Anyway, the anaesthetist fee is around £700 to £1,000. They're there throughout your whole operation to make sure you stay asleep. And then your doctor's fee as well. So in total it was around £7,000. This will obviously vary depending on if it's your first or second rhinoplasty, the doctor you go with, and also your hospital fees as well, because each hospital kind of varies, but chances are if you're picking a doctor, the hospitals that they work at all charge relatively the same. I had a another question that kind of fits into this bracket, so I thought I would answer them both together, and that is your thoughts on non-surgical versus surgical rhinoplasty options. So non-surgical rhinoplasty is putting filler in your nose to alter the appearance of it, and there's someone that I follow on Instagram, Dr. Ayad Harb, who is so good at this, and I actually went to see him maybe 3 years ago now, because what I wanted was to make my nose smaller and reduce it in size. It wasn't something that I was really able to do with non-surgical rhinoplasty. It would definitely be something I would recommend. I know so many people that have done it, and it has totally changed the appearance of their nose in minutes rather than in weeks and weeks of recovery, and it's also about 1/7 of the price. It can be between £500 to £1,000, so that's definitely something I would look into and recommend to people if that is an option for them. I did do that. I'll put in a before and after now of my non-surgical rhinoplasty. You wouldn't be able to tell what's before and what's after, I don't think, so much on this picture, especially in real life, unless I write what's before and what's after. It was more what I wanted to change, what I wasn't able to do with non-surgical rhinoplasty. Do you feel like you have a lot more self-confidence now? I wanted to answer this because I don't feel like anything really has changed. I probably have the same self-confidence. I do the same thing in my day-to-day life. I never turn down things because of my nose. The one thing I will say that has changed is because of RAEMI, my jewelry brand, which I'm wearing now. Oh, the sun is kind of hitting me in a funny little way. I am much more confident in turning and taking pictures from the side. Whereas before I would take pictures from the side, but I probably wouldn't like them. Whereas now I like them. That's probably the only difference. Is before, whenever people would take pictures of me from the side, I would not look at them, I wouldn't post them, I wouldn't really like them so much. Especially if I was smiling and my nose kind of hooked down. But now I actually like them, so that's good. Was it an open or closed rhinoplasty? My rhinoplasty was open, which means they cut you a tiny bit here. I have a scar. Sorry, my nose is still really blocked. Can you hear that? So I don't want to show you too much on my nose, but I have a tiny little scar here, which is really easy to cover with makeup. I had some stitches in. They stayed in the little strings for about a week, and then when I went to see Dr. Porn, he kind of pulled them out for me and like sort of released them. I really don't mind this little scar. It's something that I cover with makeup, and it's really easy. Did you feel pressure to get a nose job? It's common in Persian and Jewish culture. I didn't feel pressure at all. No one around me, none of my friends, only one of my friends at university got a nose job around the same time as me, and that was kind of it. It's something that was talked about a lot in my friendship group, I think. When I was growing up, it was all about noses, and now it's all about lips. I'm quite lucky. I think I never felt pressured, but I saw another question which I wanted to answer, which was, do you think you would have gotten your nose done if you had not been made fun of it? And I think that's such an interesting question, because I was so unaware about what I looked like until I was made fun of for my nose. So maybe in an alternate universe, if no one had ever commented on my nose, maybe I wouldn't have ever had an issue with it. Best advice for someone planning on a nose job. I'm planning on it, so lots of questions. Okay, my best advice would be to be really specific about what you want and decide if you want a little bit more than what you want or a little bit less than what you want. I think something that I could have said is, if you're operating on me, when in doubt, do more rather than do less. I think my first rhinoplasty, we did less than what I wanted, and I would have liked to do more than what I wanted. This is such a good question. I still have pigmentation around my eyes 2.5 years post-op. Any suggestions? Hold on, coming for you. You need a corrector. I've got what you need. Okay, you need a corrector, which is great for counteracting bags under your eyes. This is my favorite. If you're a similar skin tone to me, this is the Becca under eye corrector. Use this before your concealer. So use your eye cream, then a corrector, then your concealer, and then powder over the top, and that will lock everything in. I use light medium. They have a medium dark, and that's it, which is a bit annoying. If you have darker skin than me, Charlotte Tilbury do a great one, and one that's actually red, which is really good at counteracting dark bags. I use number 2 in my Charlotte Tilbury one, but I prefer the Becca one because it's it's thicker, it covers more. So yeah, that is everything for my nose rhinoplasty Q&A. I hope you enjoyed that. It's always much easier opening up once I get going. Do you know what I mean? But in the beginning I'm always like, oh god, what are people gonna say? Thank you so much for allowing me to share this with you. If you have any other questions, I'll be on the comments down below, so let me know, or you can pop me a DM on Instagram. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Sunday with another video. Mwah. Bye guys!